So the age-old question, are bottles made from 20 plus years ago very similar to bottles made today? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome back to the Bourbon Retriever. Today we have a very special bottle to review. The reason this is special is because today is my birthday and this bottle is a birthday bottle. This is a Dusty Wild Turkey 101, 8 years old, made in 1990. So this bottle was produced back in the day when actually it was called the Austin Nichols Distillery. Austin Nichols actually back in the day was a grocery store and Wild Turkey products were distributed through the grocery store. Over time though, the company shifted away from their grocery store focus and moved almost exclusively to focus on their spirits business. But I am so excited to try this bottle. I was actually lucky enough to try this bottle before. I got this bottle at the bar Neat in Louisville, Kentucky. That's actually where I tried it too. What's cool about Neat is you go there and half the store is all these old Dusties, Blanton's from 20 plus years ago, pre-Fire Heaven Hill, old cheesy gold foil turkey, you name it, they probably have it. Then the other side is a tasting bar where you can go in and they have probably the biggest selection of Dusties I have ever seen, and the prices are also some of the best prices I've ever seen. So I was at their bar trying a bunch of different bottles, some old Stitzel, some pre-Fire Heaven Hill, and then eventually I made my way to this old Dusty turkey and I absolutely fell in love. So I have fingers crossed that this bottle is as good. The issue with Dusties is we just don't know how they were handled. This bottle could have been kept in premium condition, someone's basement at a nice room temperature. It also could have been left in like someone's barn that was exposed to all the elements, heat and sunlight, and it just might have been absolutely destroyed. But without further ado, let's go and open this bottle. I am a little nervous opening it. I got some tools here to help me, a strainer and a cork to help open if it does run into any troubles. It is very old, so the cork is probably deteriorated. But before we get into the review, if you have been looking for the perfect birthday present for me, it would actually be none other than hitting that subscribe button. I'm looking to try and get this channel to 1,000 subs, then that way we can do a live stream with everybody. I'll probably pop one of my other very nice bottles back here and just have a great time with everybody. Give it a shot. I'm trying to be super gentle because I just don't know the condition this cork's in. So this is a very common feature with Dusties. I don't know if you can see it in the camera there, but there is this line around the top edge where the cork has been meeting the liquid inside. The cork is actually in pretty good shape. I expected a lot worse condition. I've been at some bars and the cork has just absolutely fallen apart when you open it, just crumbling. People have had to use wine openers and strainers just to strain the little bits out of it. All right, without further ado, on to the aroma. If you guys haven't had Dusties before, typically one of the stronger notes you'll get in a Dusty is this butterscotch. I'm getting a little bit of that. Additionally, sometimes you might get this kind of wet paper, maybe like a wet fire log kind of smell, and I'm getting that a little bit in this. That is probably the cork tainting a little bit, kind of getting that kind of moldy smell. I'm also getting a strong grape musk, almost maybe like a mulled wine a little bit there. Overall, it's about what I would expect from a Dusty turkey. One thing you got to keep in mind though when you go and buy Dusties, you aren't paying that premium dollar because the whiskey is probably going to be the most amazing thing you've ever tasted. You're buying it for the history. You're trying to figure out what did turkey taste like back in the day? How is it different than from present day turkey? How has it evolved? And really trying to connect with the history of the product. Like for instance, this turkey, this is one of the last batches made in their old Cypress tanks. In 1984, they switched from Cypress to their metal tanks, and this was distilled in 1982. All right, onto the palate. Now that is very interesting. I'm trying to think of how to describe it. It's almost maybe like a chocolate covered orange which is just a flavor note I almost never get from turkey. A little bit of that must is on the palate, in the mid palate, and then this is actually a lot more rye spice than I'm used to also in turkey products. There's definitely a lot more oak on this product than there are on Wild Turkey 101s today. This is an 8-year age-dated product. There's no age statement on the current 101, but it's rumored to be somewhere between 6 to 7, potentially 8 years old. But the oak notes I'm getting on this bottle are much more pronounced. This bottle could be actually much older than 8 years old. It's just the age statement on the product. Yeah, there's an absolute bomb of oak notes on the front of this palate. Almost maybe like a Wild Turkey 12 101 that you can get today. This isn't as oaky as that, but it's getting closer to that than I would say a traditional 101. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with that chocolate covered orange. That is a very unique taste. Chocolate part I'm getting from that oakness at the beginning, and then that middle fruit. Typically I do not get orange for turkey, and that is such a unique aspect. Okay, overall, how would I rate the Dusty Turkey? It is not one of the top bottles I've ever tasted, but is one of the more unique bottles I've tasted. Being able to drink something that was made when I was born in 1990 is just an incredible experience inside of itself. And this will be a bottle that I'll look forward to every year to be able to open on my birthday. I didn't really talk about the label too much. I love this old label design. They got this cool turkey with this tail coming off the label edge. If you're ever in Kentucky, Jimmy is sometimes at the gift shop at the Turkey Distillery. And one of my friends went to the distillery with a very similar bottle of this. It was 1 year older in 1991, but it had the exact same label. And Jimmy told him this is one of his favorite labels. And Jimmy, and good old Jimmy Charm, told him, if the turkey starts winking, it's time to stop drinking. A true comparison here would not be done without trying a turkey from today. So let's give a little pour of that. Okay, on the nose, I get a lot of green apple. That is the most predominant note, and that's the typical note I get on Wild Turkey 101. Maybe with a little bit of vanilla in there too. What this exactly reminds me of, I don't know how many of you have had this experience, but when I was growing up, on the fence line of our house, we had these honeysuckles that grew on a vine. And one of my favorite things every year was to go out and pluck them, pull them through the honeysuckle, and then once you pulled it through, there was this nice little drop of nectar. And the aroma on this is exactly reminding of how those honeysuckles smelled. All right, onto the palate. Okay, the palate is definitely tastes like a younger product than the older Dusty turkeys. I'm getting a light caramel. There definitely are some oak notes there, but they're on the tamer, younger side. Now, one of the great things about Wild Turkey 101 today is while it does taste younger than the older Dusty versions, it doesn't taste youthful or grainy. It just doesn't have the oakiness that the older bottles did. So now people may ask, why would a bottle from 20, 30 years ago taste different than a bottle today? And there are a bunch of different theories out there. Some say just the exposure to sun, heat, oxidization in the bottle will change the flavors over time. Some will point to the yeast strain. Every time you use yeast in the brewing process, it changes just ever so slightly each time. So each time you use it is not the exact same yeast and producing the exact same flavor. So if you do that enough times over a long period of time, the yeast you had 30 years ago is not going to be the same yeast that you're using today. Others will point to the more heightened cleaning there is at distillers today. They're a lot more persistent on cleaning the pipes and the kettles and everything in between, whereas back in the day, they might have been a little more lax on that. Some speculate that the wood they used a couple years ago was just older wood, older trees, and that might have imparted different flavors. The sad thing is we just will never know. It's impossible to do a time machine, go back in time, and actually taste it right off the still. The best we can do is taste it an open sealed bottle, but even then, we don't know exactly if that's how it tasted back in the day. So for you out there who have not tasted Dusties, I would highly recommend you going out there and trying to, if you can, to get your hold of some Dusties. I wouldn't pay exorbitant prices for them, and I'd also encourage you to read up on the history of that bottle before you buy it, because you're only really going to appreciate it if you understand the history of that distillery, how that bottle was made, and see if you can find one that has some significance to you, whether it be a year you're born, married, had a kid, or it's just a distillery you really love. But when you're going to hunt Dusties, just keep in mind that I've said this before, you aren't going to be tasting the best whiskey you ever had in your life. It's more of just a journey through history. So that's my review on the Dusty Turkey 101. If you're enjoying this content, before you head out, check out this video or this one, and until next time, cheers.